There's been a lot of pressure on Vice President Kamala Harris to overrule the Senate Parliamentarian. This is the unelected Senate staffer who shared her recommendation that the $15 an hour minimum wage be stripped out of the coronavirus relief bill so the bill can pass through a simple majority as opposed to needing 60 Republican senators, 60 senators with support from Republicans in order to pass. Now, the important thing to note is that Kamala Harris can overrule the Senate Parliamentarian. The Senate Parliamentarian is not a god. The Senate Parliamentarian is not a dictator. The Senate Parliamentarian is simply someone who shares his or her thoughts on a certain provision in a bill. And then the person presiding over the Senate, in this case, Kamala Harris, can overrule her. And the question is, will she do it? Now, Kamala Harris, to be sure, understands the importance of a $15 an hour minimum wage. In fact, she says so much during a recent interview that I want to share with you. Let's take a look at the first part. Take a look.
I have been fighting for $15 an hour minimum wage since the beginning of time, it feels like. Most people may not understand that $7.25 is the current federal minimum wage. You know what that means? If you work 40 hours a week, at federal minimum wage as it currently stands, you are earning $15,000 a year. $15,000 a year, which means that folks who are working a full day's work, a full week's work, are existing below the poverty line. We have to increase minimum wage. And we are going to fight for that. We're not going to give up the fight, even though the parliamentarian said that it can't stay in our bill. But it is one of my biggest priorities.
She says it's one of her biggest priorities. More importantly, the reason why I started this with that video was to show you that she understands the importance of this issue. And she also knows, as the vice president, that she single-handedly has the power to overrule the Senate Parliamentarian. And Natalie Moore in that interview had asked her, before she gave you that long-winded answer, whether she intends to overrule the Senate Parliamentarian. She clearly didn't answer, so there was a follow-up. Let's take a quick look at that.
I just want to follow up. Given that parliamentarian rule, will you use your authority as vice president to include it in the relief bill anyway?
Well, listen, we were very disappointed in the parliamentarian rule, but we are committed to working with Congress to determine the best path forward. And the bottom line is nobody in our country should work a full day's work and work 40 hours a week and live in poverty.
So in other words, no. I know how important this issue is. I know that I have the power to overrule the Senate Parliamentarian, but no. I mean, Cenk, these kinds of answers from politicians are a dime a dozen. But what drives me crazy is how insulting it is to people. Like, I don't think people are so complacent anymore. I think they watch an interview like that and think, first of all, I mean, in the first video, she's like, I don't think most people understand that minimum wage is $7.25. No, they understand. I'm pretty sure a lot of people in the country understand. Secondly, if you know it's a serious problem, if you know that people aren't making enough money to live, if they're working full time and they're getting paid minimum wage, they're not making enough money to pay their rent, to buy groceries, just to provide the essentials for themselves, right? Then why don't you have the power to include it in the bill? Make it happen, and then do what you did. Kamala Harris went to West Virginia and started doing interviews to tout the coronavirus relief package, and Joe Manchin was upset about that. He had a temper tantrum about that because he doesn't want his constituents to realize what a bozo he is, because it applies pressure for him to actually do the right thing by his constituents. And I don't know why all of a sudden she's backed off. Cenk, go ahead.
Yeah, so look, there's a lot of good news in that interview. And I'm actually super excited about, honestly, what you guys helped to start and have done here. But first, I want to give credit to Natalie Moore at WBEZ. Excellent questions, perfect follow-up. So normally, like the Wolf Blitzers of the world will just skate right by that as she gives I'm keep it real, an Obama-like answer of, it's one of my top priorities and that's why I'm not gonna do it. Well, wait, what? So Natalie Moore, being an actual reporter, was like, wait, but you do have the power to actually put it in the bill, so are you going to? And she gave the same answer, which is blah blah blah, which Anna I think correctly deduced was no. Okay, but look at this, guys. We've changed the tenor of the conversation. And is it exclusively us? Of course not. Every reasonable, smart progressive out there, ranging from the Warren people all the way to the Bernie people and beyond, everybody is saying several things at the same time, which is because you needed it. One, you need Bernie to introduce it. We've gone over this, and he's gonna introduce it. Number two, you need Kamala Harris to not rule in favor of a McConnell filibuster on it. And by agreeing with the parliamentarian's advice, she would be agreeing with McConnell and making it a 60 vote threshold for Democrats to include the minimum wage and COVID relief. Now, if it's one of your top priorities, why would you do that? Well, her excuse was, oh, no, the parliamentarian. But now, because it has become a larger issue, and did we have some part in that? Well, some in the press are giving us credit for that because I think it's true. And again, it's not us, guys, it's you. When you're making the videos, you're using the hashtag, you're signing the petition. In this case, it was hashtag Save Us Kamala. Did it trend? Of course it trended. Whenever we do anything together, it trends. We did it with Don't Kill It Bernie. Bernie changed his stance on it halfway, right? And in this case, Kamala's now finally having to answer questions. You're the vice president. There is absolutely no question. It's a point of fact that the parliamentarian does not have any power. I mean, I know that Democrats want to paint it like the parliamentarian controls everything. He was on the grassy knoll. She knows the secret sauce that goes into every burger. And so, no, the parliamentarian has zero power. Kamala Harris has all the power, and so now she's being called out on it. And now it's a little bit more embarrassing. Now the rest of the press looks into it. But the thing is about Save Us Kamala, and we have the petition too, tyt.com/petitions/Save Us Kamala. We framed it as Save Us Kamala. Why? Because we're like gullible people who are like, oh my God, I think Kamala Harris is an angel. But look, if you think that K-Hive, great. But we're not trying to get her. We are actually trying to help her. If she makes this happen and overrules the parliamentarian, she'd be incredibly popular. It should be super hard to beat if she runs for president in 24 or 28. So you save us, Kamala, and you save yourself. It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. In fact, if they think Manchin and Sinema are really gonna vote it down, they don't even need the 60 votes. Kamala Harris can have her cake and eat it too. She could say that yes, the minimum wage is in the bill, and then go, golly gee, there was nothing I could do. Corporate donors don't sweat it. Manchin and Sinema killed it. It's actually a politically savvy move. But God, the donors have so much control. She still hasn't done it. But the more people ask, and the more Natalie Moores of the world do great reporting and great interviews, the more we got a shot at this thing. And all you need is a little hope, guys. And I would argue and now the rest of the press is beginning to argue, you started that fire. You started that hope. So this doesn't have to be negative to Kamala Harris. It could be wonderfully positive to her. She could be the hero that saves the day. But let's not pretend that it isn't her decision, because it most definitely is.
And the thing for me, and I'm sure a lot of people who have been frustrated by how all of this is developed, Cenk, is just how politicians think, and this happens on both the left and the right. This isn't an ideological thing, but politicians seem to think that all they need to do is pay us lip service. All they need to do is tweet about how much they care about issues. All they need to do is tweet their outrage at how things have unfolded. And we'll be okay, we'll be satisfied by their outrage. Their, in my opinion, performative outrage. But no, you can't tell us that you understand the severity of the issue. You can't tell us that you're gonna fight like hell. And then when you find yourself in the perfect position to actually do something about it, you back off and pretend as if you don't have that power. You have that power. There's a reason why she's in that position, and you don't get to pay us lip service by talking about how underpaid American workers are when you refuse to do exactly what you are empowered to do at this given moment. Yeah. So that's the part that gets under my skin personally.
Yeah, and guys, it's not like this is easy. We knew it was hard from the get-go, but I said it was doable, and it's got a fighter's chance. It certainly had a fighter's chance at some point. So look, let's just last thing on this because it's so important. Anna's right. The politicians are used to doing talking points, i.e. propaganda. And in this case, she says it's one of my biggest priorities. And normally the press then lets it go and then publishes Kamala Harris says minimum wage is one of her biggest priorities. They never clarified she's the one that's killing it. I mean, isn't that amazing? So the propaganda assumes that the media is complicit and will help them spread that propaganda. And that is beginning to break down. It started to break down during the Trump era because Trump was not part of the establishment and the media went to a different equation. And now people are beginning to wake up and go, yeah, wait a minute, aren't we supposed to challenge them? Because what she just said isn't really true. If it's your biggest priority and you can do it, why wouldn't you do it? Right? I mean, it's just such a simple question, but it took so much effort on all of our parts to break this 40-year lock that corporate Democrats and Republicans had on the establishment media. Anna, they did all those talking points because they knew they were going to get away with it because we had no functioning media in this country. But now we do. And look, my critique, by the way, as you might have seen yesterday, is fair and across the board. So yes, that applies to Kamala Harris. Yes, she can change it and be the hero. For Bernie Sanders, yes, he's introducing it as an amendment, but he wasn't going to in the beginning. Okay, so that was you guys 100%. And then now he's introducing it as an amendment, but let's keep it real. Both for Bernie Sanders and any other Democratic senator, including Elizabeth Warren, Ron Wyden, and the others in the Senate, but also for our progressive friends in the House. One senator or 6 congresspeople can block this bill and force them to renegotiate. It doesn't kill the bill, it just forces them to renegotiate it because there's no way that this bill isn't passing. Joe Biden must pass it. And when progressives, including in the House and the Senate, and including Bernie Sanders and including some of our top allies, when they choose not to use their power, well, that's on them. And that is a choice that they are making. So did it have to do with Kamala Harris? Definitely. Because if she doesn't rule the right way, we're never gonna get past the filibuster. But you could block the bill anyway, even without that filibuster. You could just vote no on the underlying bill. And it would just take 1 senator or 6 congresspeople to force them to come back to the table and actually start talking about including the $15 minimum wage. And right now in Congress, we don't have Kamala Harris doing what she says is her top priority. We don't have one Democratic senator who's willing to block the bill. Again, not kill the bill, block it so we renegotiate it. And we don't have 6 congresspeople who are willing to do it. That's very sad. I hate to report it to you, but it is true.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.